I just finished reading an excellent book that I want to discuss today. It actually kind of inspired today's topic, and it's also very much in alignment with what I talk about on here. My motto, I guess. My motto. What is my motto? I have it on my banner thing. Thought-provoking inspiration. Because that is my goal. I want to get people to think for themselves. I don't want to sit here and spew ideas, yes, but not belief systems. I don't want to sit here and say, this is how you should think, or this is what worked for me, so do the same as I did. I just like to give people things to consider because that's how I like to receive new information. I always like to test new things out. This book I read was called Think Different. Now I'm second guessing myself. Let me look it up because that would be embarrassing if I give the wrong title. Think Again. Think Again. I had to think again, you know? So, Think Again by Adam Grant. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from the moment I started reading the book, which is rare. I feel like I take 2 or 3 chapters before I can really get into a new book. But right off the top, I was like, this is my kind of read. I like how this guy thinks. I've been enjoying his podcast as well. I just listened to an episode he had on with Trevor Noah, which was really funny. He's a funny guy, and it was interesting, the things they discussed on there. I would highly recommend it if you need something new to check out and listen to, and especially if you like this type of content. So today I want to talk about Think Again. I had to really think about it this time. Think Again, which Think Different is also kind of in alignment with what it's about. I guess it's not really that different. What I did like, I don't want to talk about it too much because I think you should read it if you're a reader, but I know nobody reads anymore, so I really enjoyed how he set up the chapters. It felt like there was this nice thread in between, the beginning and the end of every chapter. He would bring up a story, and then he would bring it up again, and then the conclusion would include the story. So I kind of liked how he continued each chapter. It was well written, so I enjoyed reading it. I think that is a key for me, is books have to be well written, worded well, and not too wordy and long, because sometimes I feel like I got it. I needed one example, I'm good. I don't need 15 examples and a 400-page book that could have been 150, you know what I mean? Maybe that's just me. There's a trend that I've been seeing going on that I want to talk about. I don't know if it really caught on, but it was a couple weeks ago, I want to say that I saw it, where people were stuffing cash into baby items at Target, like diapers and formula, wipes, all this stuff. I don't know if it was just baby items, but that's all that I saw. And so many problems with this. First of all, just icky to me when you're trying to do good and then you're showing it on social media. Look how good I am. I'm this good person. I'm doing this good stuff. It kind of takes away from it, in my opinion. I mean, better than doing destructive things, right? But it is a little bit destructive because you are tampering with the items. And that was kind of my first thought when I saw this. I went, oh no. And maybe the intention was great. Maybe they really had this great idea where they thought, oh, this will be really cool. This is going to go viral, which unfortunately seems to be the intention that most people have who post on social media. It's like, what will go viral instead of what will actually inspire somebody or inspire some good or be really funny or entertaining. It's always what will get me the most views, which I get. It's all part of it. It's all part of the game. I understand that. But it bothered me from the moment I saw it. And I thought, first of all, money is dirty and you're stuffing it into formula that someone's going to give to their newborn infant who has no immune system, who can die from RSV, who can die from a common cold, who they don't really have immunity. And especially a baby that isn't being breastfed, because breastfed babies, the breast milk contains any bodies that the baby needs. But this is not about breastfeeding or formula. That's not what this is about. The point is, we need to think about things, especially things that might take off or go viral, and think about the intention it might have, or the impact that it might have, I should say. And it bothered me. I thought of this and I immediately went, oh no, I shook my head. I'm like, this is so bad. Like, again, it was a good intention, but it was not well thought out at all. I don't know if it died off. I don't know what happened. I kind of live under a rock. I do consume some videos and whatever, especially on YouTube. Since I'm on here, I will consume some shorts and all that every now and then, especially on my TV. But I don't really engage that much in trends and what's going on. So I don't know, but it just was something that I had to include in here because it's not a good idea. And I even saw people commenting saying, yeah, I work in Target, I work in these places, and people are vandalizing these products, trying to get to the money, because this kind of took off where a couple different influencers were doing this, and people were breaking into the product hoping they would get $20, get a couple, dollars. And that's another problem, people are very greedy. We can't just see it as, oh, well. And then I thought about how silly it is that you're going to give money to some random person. What if a millionaire picked up a box of diapers? What are they going to do with $20? Wipe their butt with it? Like, I don't know. Again, the intention was good, but the delivery was very poor and it was not thought out. I don't understand. Why is it so difficult just to help a family in need or go out of your way to talk to somebody who's struggling? If you have money and you have the ability to help someone directly, go to an organization or do your research and due diligence to find someone that is trustworthy, which is understandably quite hard in the today's world where everything is about greed and power, but it always has been, will probably always be that way, where humans are quite selfish. But anyway, yeah, not a good idea, unfortunately. What was your take? Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you see the trend? I'm curious to know what other people thought about it. But overall, I think when there's more downsides to doing something than there are positives, it's not worth it, in my opinion. I've been having some issues with technology, to put it very mildly. I recorded the last episode, I recorded at least 6 or 7 times. And each time there was something wrong. There was the camera shut off, or the battery died, or the, memory card was full. My audio stopped recording. I wasn't recording on the right audio source. It was everything that could have gone wrong for each take went wrong. And I glanced down and I'm like, oh no, it stopped recording again. But thankfully it's not. It's just my vision is terrible. I need to upgrade? Update? I don't know. I need to change my prescription. I need to go see an eye doctor. It's been almost a year now and my eyesight is getting worse. I can hardly see close up. Like, I was reading not too long ago and all of a sudden the words are just completely going out of focus, and it's, maybe like a couple inches from my face. It's not like I'm holding it far away and I'm struggling to read it. I'm like, I didn't think I would struggle with this at my age. I thought this was like a problem 20 years from now Nikki would be dealing with, but apparently not. So now I'm blind far away and close up. It's great. So now I can't see anything. I did want to mention a comment that I received a while back. Someone had mentioned that I looked more relaxed on camera or something. It was something along the lines of, you look more relaxed than, your previous content. And I thought, wow, I don't know. I didn't know how to take it in the moment more than, oh, wow, okay, I guess that's true. Because I don't see, from my own perspective, I can't see myself and how I look, other than, when I peek up at, the little display and I see, okay, my hair isn't too crazy today. Great. But when someone comments something like that, it's interesting. And then I looked back on some content pretty recently. I was looking at some of my first posts that I made, or some of my first videos, episodes. And I was like, oh yeah, I can see what they're talking about. But I was also very, okay, does everything look okay? Am I in the frame? The camera's on. Okay. And the audio's recording. And I still feel like I'm like that, but a little less. And hopefully I can continue to become more relaxed, slow down more. And sometimes I notice when I get very passionate, I start talking really fast and I have to slow down. I actually have a lot of people that I watch online, like YouTubers or just anyone. And I like their content. What they talk about is interesting. The topics are interesting to me. But they talk so fast. It's like, and my ears just like, I can't take it. So I click out of it. And it's unfortunate. It's not that I'm being judgmental. It's just I can't. My brain is like overstimulated by that. I get very almost stressed from hearing that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to say maybe I'm being dramatic. I am, because I know I'm very dramatic. So I try to be conscious of that. How I come off, how I sound. But it's not for everybody. The thing is with voices, it's, you're not going to be for everybody. Someone might not like my voice. They might think that I don't have a very exciting voice, or, you like someone who has a little bit more energy. Everybody gravitates toward someone different. There's somebody for everybody. That's kind of what I say. Let me take a look at what I wrote down. I wrote down a lot that I wanted to talk about today. So I wrote down, take advice. It sucks, but it helps. That was my note for that. Because it's true. Like sometimes when we hear people say things, it might not feel good in the moment. I know this as an actor in acting school. I hear feedback every day that sucks to hear. I get yelled at and what were you thinking? What the hell? What is this choice? This doesn't make any sense. You get ripped to shreds after you go up on stage and you're trying to be vulnerable and showcase what you've been working on, and it makes you feel like crap, but it helps, right? And I think about that. I'm like, well, I'm paying all this money to become better. I'm not doing this so someone can tell me you're amazing. That would be silly. My mom can do that, my cousins can do that. So yeah, I try to focus on this doesn't feel good right now, but it's going to help me in the long run. And that's worth more than temporary discomfort. Another thing they talked a lot about in the book, which reminded me of advice that I give myself a lot, and I have to keep reminding myself of this. I have been for the past 10 years, I would say. I've been really, really, really working on this, and it's hard to stop repeating things that people say without fact-checking it. I think it's so easy to hear something, and especially when we're young in our formative years, we hear someone tell us something and then we repeat it as fact. Don't stand in front of the microwave. Maybe that was actually true at one point, but I think at this point, microwaves are made in a way that it's safe. See? Now I'm saying stuff I don't even know. I shouldn't even be saying that. You see, I'm still working on it. I don't know. Maybe I should look into that. Maybe I should look into the fact that standing in front of a microwave might not be dangerous anymore. Or maybe it is. But I think it's easy for us to hear something and then we go, yeah, I heard this thing or so-and-so. Where did you hear it? On Facebook? Your brother's friend when you were 10 years old? That, and I like that. Again, they mentioned that in the book. So I really liked that. I'm taking that example from the book. And it's a great reminder for everybody. We all tend to do that. It's easy. It's so easy to just repeat something you heard versus just doing a quick search, especially now with Meta and GTP. I forget. I always mess it up. Whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. AI. And yeah, it's not difficult. It just requires a little effort. So I try to stop myself in my tracks if I've already blurted it out. If I said, oh yeah, I heard someone tell me blah, 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 fact. And then I go, but I don't know. That's just what I heard. I try to correct it pretty quickly instead of saying it confidently. Like, yeah, I know this. I researched it myself. Like, I don't know. And I think that creates a lot more space and opportunity for growth. And that's really what this book was about. And that's really what I'm about and what I talk about here. It really is about working on yourself, correcting your mistakes, becoming better, improving, And again, I will always look back at myself that way. I look at myself as a project. I'm always growing. I'm always evolving. I'm always changing my mind on things. And that's okay. I think our pride doesn't allow us to do that, or our pride kind of tells us, no, you were always right. You're the best. You've always been perfect. You've never made any mistakes. But that's not real. We're all screwed up. We've all done terrible things. And some people more terrible than others, of course. But we've all made mistakes. We all lose our temper and we all do things we regret. But it's better to grow from that instead of wallowing in that, oh, I messed up, I'm terrible. It's like, okay, I did that, but there was a reason I did that in the moment. It's as best as I knew then, but now I'm going to do better, and I'm going to be open to new knowledge and consider new things. I always say this, if a friend told me or someone said, hey, I want to give you a lecture, I want to give you a TED Talk on why table sugar is the most nutritious food that you could consume, my brain would go, no, you're crazy. What's wrong with you? Immediately, right? But then then I would pause for a moment and go, okay, sure, go ahead. And I would give them my time. I'm going to listen to it at least, even if it's complete BS. But then afterwards I would go, okay, was there any value to what they said? Did they actually research anything? Or did they just come up with their own empirical evidence? Did they just go, oh, well, this is what I saw in my own, my own study, quote unquote? Then I'd go, okay, yeah, no, you're a little crazy and I'm probably not going to listen to you the next time. But I'm always going to give people an opportunity. And why not? What do I know? We always think we're so certain in everything we know. And then the next thing we know, we're told something different. And I used to let that frustrate me, especially with diet. It's always, eggs are bad. Now eggs are a health food, and coffee is terrible for you. And now coffee can help prevent cancer. Which is it? And we get so frustrated with what is right. But I think if we're always open to receiving new information, then we can kind of go with it rather than fighting it and being frustrated by it. And also, again, taking things with a grain of salt, seeing where it came from, what source. I'm big on that. I think that's because of what I studied in college. I was a communication media studies major. So I studied, that was the main part of what I studied is fact checking, making sure your sources are right. You're not reading from some BS website that someone just wrote half in their sleep while they were high on shrooms. So that I think is important. Do your due diligence and be open. Have an open mindset. But don't have an open mind to the point where your brain falls out. That's another one I heard. I like that one. Don't let your brain fall out. Oh, another interesting example from the book was Michelle Obama. She said that she hated the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? When you ask kids that. And I hadn't really thought about it until I read that. I thought, oh, that's interesting take. That she's bothered by this question. It seems kind of innocent. I don't know. I think at first glance, when I read, what do you want to be where you grow up, or hear that, I go, yeah, that's quite innocuous. But anyway, so she mentioned that it's silly because growing up isn't something that's finite. It's not something you do and now you're done. And now you're grown up and now you're this thing. You become this thing. And also shouldn't have anything to do with who you are, your career. But for a lot of us and a lot of culture across the globe, what we do is heavily tied into who we are, even though it really shouldn't be. And now that I think about that question, I think about the fact that as a kid, that question kind of frustrated me. And it really stressed me out because I thought about, I have to figure this out now? And then it just kind of was like, well, do I have to decide? Because for many years as a kid, I thought it was something I had to pick. I had to pick what it is I want to be. What career do I want? What is the thing I want to be? And then I thought about it and I was like, well, I love baking and I love people. I want to teach. I always wanted to be a teacher. And I love kids. I love working with kids and I love putting on plays for my family. I love being creative. I love performing. I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed so many different things. And I was like, how am I supposed to choose? Do I have to choose which one I like the most? And it is silly, right? Why do we have to reduce ourselves to one thing in life? But that's kind of how we're taught to think. That's kind of how a lot of school teaches us to think. You have to grow up, you have to choose a field, you got to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, this, that. They try to put you into a box that's pretty small. And for a lot of us, we feel very frustrated being in this little box because there's so much more that we want to do. And I think there's more to it. This is obviously a very big conversation and a lot goes into this. So I can't sit here and be like, this is the simple solution to this, because there isn't. It just starts with, let's talk about it more. Let's open people's mind to something different. Let's maybe stop asking kids that question. I remember when my cousin was really small and we were all sitting around the table at dinner. Everyone was kind of, my aunts and everyone was kind of cleaning up. I don't know, it was probably Easter or something like that. And I asked her, she was probably 5 or 6, maybe 8 or 9. I don't know. She was pretty young, but still, not tiny. And I said, what do you think happens after we die? Or I asked her something like that. And she was like, I don't know. You could tell she just probably hadn't even thought about it. And my uncle kind of chimed in. It was an innocent question on my part. I wasn't trying to provoke any scary, dark, deep thoughts. It's just who I am. I like to know what people think, as is probably quite evident at this point. I'm just curious about people's mind. What do you think? What's your thoughts? Here are mine. I have this weird brain. Do you have a weird brain? I don't know. I'm just curious about people. And my uncle, he kind of chimed in. He's like, she's a little too young to comprehend that topic. And I was like, fair enough. Honestly, at that point when he said that, I went, yeah, I probably shouldn't have asked her that. It was kind of silly. She's not I could ask her, but I doubt she's traumatized by that question and it ruined her life. It just wasn't an appropriate time in her life, in her development. She probably hadn't thought about it. Or maybe take it back. Maybe that is something you can ask a young kid and then hear their innocent answer, or maybe they have something interesting to say. I don't know what the right answer is, but I do think we have to be careful about how we ask children questions, especially because children who go to school and public school, we're taught to think 1 + 1 is 2, right? What is the answer? I remember reading, it's right behind me, In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. It's about a North Korean defector. Her story's crazy, this book is. I shed many tears reading that book. It was really, really a hard read, but it was interesting when she talked about how when she first arrived in South Korea, and she went to school and they would ask her, what's your favorite color? And she would get really frustrated because she's like, what's the right answer? I don't know. She would freak out because she's like, just tell me what's the answer. But they were just asking her opinion on something. And that's not something she was taught to believe where she grew up in North Korea, because it was that's very much a dictatorship. That's not even comparable to any other or many other countries in the world, in the West. And obviously it's terrible and a terrible way to indoctrinate people. But again, it's just that mindset of we tell people what to think and what to believe, and then when we get out in the real world, it's frustrating because we're confused, and we were brought up in school that taught us that there was an answer for everything and we had to find the answer, right? And sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's just open-ended. Sometimes it's just something you talk about and you think about, and it's not always that simple. But obviously that's a separate example. That's very sad that she couldn't even tell her opinion on her favorite color. The heartbreaking story. Anyway, that book was a tough one for me to get through. Yeah, even I remember growing up. I grew up in Sweden, and it's a very progressive country. I've seen the dark sides of being progressive, which is a separate topic we can discuss in another episode. But there are definitely dark sides to that I saw growing up. And I don't know. There's definitely a lot of questions surrounding this topic about what do you want to be when you grow up. And I remember being asked that a lot. And I remember when I was about to start college, I think I was about to finish. I don't know. I was in college or sometime around that time where people would ask me, so what do you become when you're done? Because that's a common phrase in Swedish, or a common question. What do you become when you're done with this? I'm like, what do I become? And it confused me so much. I would respond with a joke. I was like, well, I become a human. Or I would just say something dumb. I would just be like, well, I become me. I'm still me. I don't know. What are you asking? I never really understood the question. I just thought it was a silly question. I understand that that's how, maybe it's an older generation thing too. I don't know. Maybe younger generations in Sweden don't talk like this anymore. I don't know. But I could tell what they were trying to say, and it was, when you study to become a doctor, you're starting to become an attorney. Those are very specific fields. And when you're done studying in those fields and you graduate, you are now a doctor. You are now a lawyer. You are now whatever. And a lot of fields aren't like that, especially for me as a creative. I always chose a creative route, even for school, because that's kind of where I landed. I was like, I don't really know what I want to do, so I'm just going to start college and I'm going to do some creative classes. I'm going to do some video classes, and I'm going to teach myself how to do audio and video stuff. And that's kind of where I started. And I just thought it was funny when people would ask me that question. I'm like, I don't become anything when I'm done. I'm just going to be a person with more knowledge. One of the last things I want to talk about from the book, which again, I really recommend. I know a lot of people don't read, so maybe consider listening to it on Audible or having someone read it to you. I don't know. I don't know, but I do think it's worth a read. Most people would benefit from that type of book and that type of thinking, or switching your thinking, I guess. And another thing they did talk about was happiness. I didn't really write down exactly what the book talked about, but it already kind of aligned with my thoughts on happiness, which is that it's not something you can just achieve. Happiness, I think we place happiness in the future. When I get the girl, or I get the job, or I get the whatever accolade or whatever success in your financial life, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, I think people think of it that way. They're like, okay, well, when I get here, then I'll be a happy person. And that's silly, because that's not life. Life is the whole journey. Life is the journey, right? It's not the destination, but it's really about figuring out what you need to do every day to be content. And I think being content is more important than happiness, because happiness is not a lasting feeling. We all know this. I get good news sometimes. I just got a good news from my attorney. I got a great text and it made my day. It made me very happy. I went, yeah, I've been waiting for this text for a long time. And then by the end of the day, I kind of forgot about that. And then, I buy something. I just bought a new dress today and it got me really happy. I've been looking for a style dress like this for a while, and it got me really happy. Now I'm kind of like, I'm still happy about it. It's not that the happiness is gone. It just fades a little. It's not lasting. Your kid says something cute and you're like, oh, that was so cute and that made me so happy. They said I love you for the first time. I don't know. But then that fades too, especially when they throw a tantrum 2 minutes later. So things aren't constant, and happiness is not constant, and it's not something you should chase. The more you chase it, the farther it's going to go away from you. That's kind of what they talked about in the book as well. I think I've said this before, but I really think that happiness is about productivity, because we think about rich people who say that they're not happy and they're trying to tell people, trust me, being rich is not going to make you happy. And I think it's true. I think money will make you happy to a certain extent, but beyond a certain amount, it's not about the money anymore. Once your bills are covered, you can afford to take a vacation every now and then, and you have your needs met, that's really all you need. Beyond that, it's not going to really make you happy unless you're using it to invest in projects that you want to do, or you're helping contribute to change in the world, or supporting family, all these different things. Sure, that can definitely be a source of happiness, but again, that's going to go away. It's not going to last forever. So depending your happiness on those things, I don't think that's useful. But again, I don't think it's worth throwing away. It's not like saying, well, money doesn't make me happy, so screw money. Money sucks. And I know a lot of people feel that way about money. They hate money, which makes me laugh because I'm like, then why do you get up every day and work so hard for it if you don't like it? It sucks. It really just is a tool. It's not anything more than that. It is just a tool to get you the things that you need. And I think for me, once I started looking at life a little bit more objectively, I found a lot more peace in that, instead of getting caught up in my emotions about everything. That everything doesn't have to be emotional. Some things just are. They just are, and accept it. That's it. And you can work to change things and improve, but you don't have to get emotionally worked up about everything. This is me talking to me now, because this is something I've struggled with in my lifetime. I'm a very passionate person. I care deeply. Sometimes I care too much, and I get caught up in how I feel about stuff, and need to relax more sometimes. I need to take a little bit more relaxed approach. And again, that advice is for me, because someone else might need to hear the opposite. They might need to care more. They might be too careless. So it's about finding a good balance in between the two. But I really think happiness, if we want to talk about it, it is about productivity, and it's about contribution. We're a very individualistic society. It's all about me and what I want, buying stuff for myself. Screw everybody else. I'm going to make me happy. And I'm like, yeah, but also help out your fellow neighbor, help out your family, help out, people who you care about and who care about you. Contribute something to society. And sometimes I feel like at least myself, I can speak to myself at least on this. I get frustrated because I'm like, am I really doing that much for society? Am I really doing enough? That's something I question a lot. And I wonder, could I be doing more for other people? Can I help people more? What do I have access to? I'm not like the wealthiest person. I can't just give money out, but what can I do? What can I help people with? How can I be a supportive friend? Those are things I think about, and I'm always working on that. I'm always working to improve, and I appreciate when I get feedback and people telling me what I can do and what would help them, because we're only limited to our own little world, in our own little brain, our tiny little brain. It's big, but it's pretty small. Oh, another one. This is my last one. I know this was pretty long today. I knew it would be a long one. Ambulances. Ambulances? Is that the plural of ambulance? I don't know. The really loud, noisy cars that pass you by going 80 an hour. People always freak out, and I've heard people say that. I'll be in the car with someone, they're like, well, what are you supposed to do? What are you technically supposed to? I hear that, and I just go, I just roll my eyes. I'm like, what are you supposed to do? I'm like, get the hell out of the way. Like, sometimes it's that simple, and we overthink things, and we go, what's the technical thing, and what am I supposed to do in this situation, and what's the bet? Just get out of the way. That's it. There's no crazy science here. It's just, there's an ambulance, they need to get by, and they need to get somewhere faster than I do. Wherever they're going is far more important than where I'm going. I hope. I pull over, I make sure I'm not blocking any driveways or any streets or whatever. Get out of the way. That's it. There's no craziness to it. But I think we overthink things, and we go to panic mode, and what's the protocol? What's the thing? What are we supposed to do? Because that's kind of how we're programmed as humans. And I said I wouldn't do another one, but there was another. I really do think you should read this book. It's a really good book. And the more you say that to people, they're not going to read it. So now I know anybody listening to this is definitely not going to listen to Think Again by Adam Grant. Definitely. I don't even get paid if you read it or anything. I gain nothing other than, I don't know. I guess I'd be kind of happy if someone read it. I'd be like, oh, cool. Maybe you've already read it. If you've already read it, did you enjoy it? Did you find it not interesting? Let me know. I'm always curious what people think. And I lost my train. It just went choo choo. I don't know. There's something wrong with me. Okay. What was I? Oh, the ambulance. We already talked about. Oh, I was going to mention another example from the book. That's where I was going. This is why I do cuts. This is why there are cuts in the final take. There's like a 5 minutes of me going, let me check my phone. What was it? In the really, like the beginning of the book, like the first chapter, I think, or the prologue, I can't remember. They talk about these firefighters. I can't remember which fire it was. I think it was it's been probably like 40, 50 years ago in California somewhere. There were some fires, and these firefighters were sent out to try to extinguish the fire, as firefighters do. And the fire spread more rapidly than they thought, or something like that. And most of them were trying to follow protocol, holding onto their tools and their heavy, they carry a lot of heavy stuff. They're carrying saws and all this crazy stuff. And this one guy, he kind of said, screw protocol. I'm going to just come up with my own survival plan here. So he started digging a hole in the ground. I'm going to retell the story wrong, and I'm going to be so mad that I messed it up. Basically, the gist of it was that he took a cloth or something, poured water over it, covered his mouth, went underground. I think he put something over himself too. I don't know, or he was far enough down. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I think he burned like the grass or whatever was around him, so the fire wouldn't go around him. So he went into this hole. I'm doing such a great job of telling the story. I know you're like on the edge of your seat. You're like, yeah, what happened next? I'm sorry, I suck at this. Anyway, he was in this hole. The fire came, spread, and it went right over him. And he was able to survive. He went against protocol. He went against training, everything, and just went, what the hell can I do to survive right now? How can I survive this situation? And that's how the book starts. And yeah, I was very intrigued by that type of thinking. I was intrigued that this person was able, and unfortunately, most of the firefighters didn't make it. A lot of them, they died because they weren't able to catch on to his thinking. They weren't able to they didn't want to do it, or whatever it was. Sometimes it goes to show you that doing something differently might actually just save your life. It might be the one thing that just changes everything. You never know. But I think it's important for us to always be willing to think differently and to stay calm. That's always the key. Just stay calm. I can't think of any scenario in life where staying calm isn't beneficial. Like whether it's a medical emergency, whether you're a doctor about to perform emergency surgery, or you're whatever it might be, staying calm, I think, is the key. Just because you can think clearly when you're cool, calm, and collected. You're thinking clearly. If you're panicking, you're not thinking at all. That's all I had. I hope you enjoyed today. This is something I enjoyed talking about. Of course, this is my bread and butter. Getting our brains thinking in different ways. I think it helps us grow. And I don't know, I feel like I appreciate life more because I have this openness to try to understand why things happen and why things, life is really, really hard, and we go through some terrible things and experience some deep pains. I mean, it's really difficult. I've had my fair share of hell in my life. I haven't, lived this perfectly beautiful, romantic fairy tale life where everything was handed to me. I've had to work hard. I've had to make sacrifices and struggled a lot. But then I try to think of it as like, okay, well, maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's beauty in that somehow. maybe there's growth in that. But I really do think that comes down to how you choose to think about life. That is truly a choice, is how you choose to see things, how you choose to see a situation, how you choose to think about whatever boat you're in, and how you're going to get yourself out of it if it's not a good situation. I have a lot more content coming up that I'm excited about. I'm excited to be back. Thank you for all the kind words. It's really appreciated. And I hope you have a productive and peaceful week. Take care.